Hello, I'm Roy Takumi. I'm State Representative and I currently chair the House Education Committee. Yesterday we had an informational briefing about the race to the top and the progress that we're making or not making, maybe more accurately. As people, of course, know, the teachers turned down the contract, and so currently we're sort of in limbo in regards to that. They have three options, essentially, the teachers do. One is to come back to the bargaining table. The second is to take a strike vote and decide what to do about that. And the third is continue their case before the Hawaii Labor Relations Board. I'm going to remain hopeful that the union and the Office of Collective Bargaining, the Board of Education, Department of Education are willing to come back to the table and try to work out their differences. As far as the race to the top, clearly the Federal Department of Education is concerned about where we're at right now, because the critical part of the race to the top application rests upon whether or not we evaluate our teachers, and from that teacher evaluation many things spring out from that. Additional training, perhaps additional compensation, those sorts of things. So that was in the contract proposal, and again the teachers turned that down. So the question is whether or not we will do that here, either through a bill or just to continue to encourage the parties to come back to the table and negotiate that item. It varies from state to state. Some states negotiate that, other states put it into their laws. We currently have two bills that address that, and we will be hearing those bills this session, and we'll move them out just for discussion purposes, and then we'll see by the end of the session where we're at. Some people have said that the $75 million that we got to the race to the top, in the big scheme of things relative to the department's overall budget, is really a small amount, and that is true when you look at the number, but it's more than that. It's whether or not we are serious about implementing critical reforms that we need in our K-12 education system. And so the money is nice. It allows us to purchase certain things that can help move us along, but I believe that the department, and from my end as well, we are committed to pushing forward some of the reforms that have been proposed in that race to the top application. So that would be around race to the top. Now, we also this session are going to be focusing on charter school reform and taking a look at that extended learning bill. As you know, we created a law 2 years ago that by law we have 180 instructional days, and then in that bill, now law, we said every school has to have a certain minimum number of hours. We're going to be taking a look at that again this year to help redefine what we mean by instructional time. In some school districts, instructional time is defined as playing sports, being in a club, those sorts of things. Currently we don't count that as instructional time, and we're going to be discussing whether or not that should be included, because some people say students who participate in these activities after school, they do learn things, and I think that's true. Now the question is, how do you count that? How do you measure outcomes from those activities, and how it should be calculated? Also, how do we calculate project-based learning? Because as you know, every time a student does a project, there's no set number of hours that student works on that, because it's a goal, it's an outcome rather than amount of time. And the same thing with online learning. If you take an online learning class, you may be able to finish it in 20 hours. The student next to you may finish it in 30 hours. But the whole goal is to have students complete that course and have good outcomes, and not necessarily the exact number of hours it took for that student to complete that course. So those are some of the issues we'll be dealing with this session.